From the BBC World Service, in association with ABC and Akashvani, this is Stumped.
Hello and welcome to Stumped, your intercontinental hit of news, features and debate from the quirky world of cricket. I'm Alison Mitchell in my hotel in Nottingham, where the England-Australia men's ODI series is kicking off, and a chance to see Jofra Archer bowl to Steve Smith in an international for the first time since he floored him with that incredible bouncer in the Ashes in 2019. So that is something for fans to look forward to. But I'm also back from a trip to Poland last weekend in a city called Wrocław, where I was there for a wedding of one of my oldest friends. Safe to say I learnt a few new Polish traditions, but it was a really beautiful weekend to be at.
You're looking fresh, Ali. Jim Maxwell here in Sydney, and I'm starting to, despite the fact that it's a very cool start to spring in Sydney, getting a taste of Test cricket over my right shoulder, keeping an eye on Bangladesh playing India. And Bangladesh are giving them a good game so far. Let's hope that continues as we lead up towards India being in Australia in a couple of months.
Well, they are in a tough spot right now, India, aren't they, Jim? I'm glad you're watching. And Alison, I'm looking quite the opposite to you. That's because I'm still home, recovering after that spine surgery. I believe I have a long, long road, maybe even 3 months or more before I can get out of the house. So I'll be here for plenty of Stumped recordings, so that's for sure. But yeah, it's a little strange how India have started out so badly against Bangladesh. Maybe because they are fresher right now or more match fit than India.
Well, your pain is our gain, Charu, in this instance. So patience, and you'll be out and about before too long. Later on in the show, we're going to be meeting the former international captain turned ultra-marathon running cricket coach. Any guesses? We'll have to wait to find out. But we will start by talking about India batter Yashasvi Jaiswal, because he's chasing history in the World Test Championship. The 22-year-old needs another 132 runs in that ongoing series against Bangladesh that you mentioned there to become the Indian batter with the most runs in a single edition of the World Test Championship. Now, there has only been 2 cycles of this championship so far, but India has been in the final of both. And when you consider the calibre of those around him, well, it will be quite a feat. We've previously spoken to Jaiswal's childhood coach here on Stumped, Jawala Singh, and he predicted that Jaiswal will become the next legend for India. And it's well worth going to the BBC World Service website, if you find the Stumped website there, to listen back to what he had to say. Charu, I mean, if Jaiswal gets the runs in this series, he'll go past Ajinkya Rahane, the former India captain. He clocked up 1,159 runs in that 2019 to 2021 cycle. What have you made of Jaiswal's performances so far?
Well, I think his coach has it right, Jawala Singh. He is built to be the next big thing, not just for India, but perhaps around the world as well, because these runs have been scored around the world. And unfortunately, he hasn't reached that mark yet, that 132 runs you mentioned, but he's knocked off 56 of those in the first innings. And he'll be so disappointed that he didn't carry on to 100 or an even bigger score, because he's built for the big scores. Well, we can't argue with his career so far. A spectacular start, then yes, a bit of a slump. And now, because India doesn't really play too much red ball cricket, I think that's the central problem for many of their white ball stars. And Yashasvi is as much a white ball star as many of the other big ones playing for India. I think he will grow more into red ball cricket as he goes along and will learn how to change gears, because it's not all 4th, 5th and 6th. Can he drop down to the 1st gear on occasion? That's something he'll have to learn as he goes along, because the first innings of this first test match in Chennai, he showed plenty of that ability of dropping down to 1st and 2nd gear. But I'm afraid the bowling was a shade too good because of the kind of pitch as well, which was assisting the faster bowlers. But yes, he's a very special commodity. And all of us know his, well, story, don't we, of the really hard road to where he is. And all of that hopefully will bear him a lot of fruit, because he's already very hardened. And I don't think he's going to be set back by a couple of poor innings.
Yeah, Jawala Singh told us all about that story in detail, didn't he, when he came on the programme. Jim, overall, Jaiswal started the series joint 2nd for run scoring in this particular cycle, tied with Ben Duckett for England on 1,028 runs. If he gets another 371, shave 50 odd off that now from the first innings against Bangladesh, he could beat Joe Root at the top. I mean, we enjoy talking about it and comparing these things. How much attention do you think the players pay to the run charts, in a season or a cycle?
Well, they probably pay some attention to it, but I don't know. I think you've gone root mad in England. You're always going on about his new records and the rest of it. But I just have to keep reminding you, he's never scored a Test century in Australia. So let's leave him alone for a bit and look at this young bloke who's now scored a half century in every Test he's played. So from what I've seen of him so far in this game, he looks a very composed, organised player who will be very dangerous in Australia if he can handle the bounce that may be a bit more awkward for him. And it's fascinating to watch India actually playing on a pitch with grass on because the ball's bouncing and it's moving. They must be having a serious net for the Australian tour from the look of it, Charu.
Next on Stumps, to a truly dramatic and historic couple of weeks for Irish women's cricket. First, they overcame a chaotic batting collapse in Belfast to earn their first one-day international victory over England since 2001. They then showed it was no fluke, achieving their record run chase in women's T20 internationals in a thrilling 5-wicket win over England in Dublin. Now, in Belfast, chasing 154, Ireland needed 8 runs off the last over to win what was a rain-affected game. They lost 3 wickets in 3 balls. That meant that 4 was needed off the last ball of the match. And the number 9 batter, Alana Dalzell, managed to find the boundary with a little bit of help from a misfield, and Ireland got over the line. Well, let's hear more about it with Ireland captain Gabby Lewis. Gabby, welcome to Stumped. I've got to say, first of all, take us back to that final over and what was going through your mind, needing 8 runs off those last 6 balls to start with.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, I was pretty annoyed that I got out when I did. It was a big task still to ask the low, middle to lower order to get that, I think, especially on that pitch. I think someone who's in, you don't want to be throwing away that. So, I was very nervous, but at the same time, I backed our batters to get us over the line. I mean, it was looking a bit dodgy when the 3 wickets fell, but look, Alana Dalzell's been working really hard, so I knew that it wasn't fully over yet, but I was still, there was no really expectation on her to hit a 4, so I think that was what shocked us the most. And I think when she hit it, she just didn't run, and Rebecca at the other end was going, Alana, run, and she just said, I thought it, and I was asking her after, and she was like, I thought it went for 6. I hit it so clean.
Oh, well, it got there. Most importantly, it got there. Now, in Dublin with the T20, that was your first ever T20 win over England at the 4th meeting only. But it wasn't a full-strength England side, what with players rested ahead of the T20 World Cup. But, I mean, what has pleased you most about getting these wins over England?
I think it's the way we've bounced back from I think in each series we did have a big defeat. So I think just the way we've bounced back and responded has been brilliant. It's easy to kind of look too far into these things, but I think we just, with the kind of closeness of the two T20s, you kind of have to just park it and move on. And we took our learnings and we showed what we can do in that last T20. So I was really delighted.
You come from a cricketing family from the sound of it, because your father captained Ireland, your sister also represented Ireland. I mean, Ireland spurned cricket forever until the last 20 or 30 years, it seems. What's happened in Ireland for people to come on board with cricket?
I don't know. It does seem like it's very family orientated in Ireland. If you look at our team, it's very much people who'd fathers or mothers who had played. But it is definitely changing. I know with the girls coming through, some of them picked it up in school, and I think that's the work down to the work of the provinces. I think they've gotten into schools as much as they can, and like even looking at all the young girls after the game screaming for autographs, like we would have never had that in the past. And it just shows the work that's being done behind the scenes. And yeah, we're hugely grateful for it.
In terms of targets then, what are the medium and the long-term goals for your team, for the women's in the T20? And you're 10th in the rankings at the moment, so where are you pushing to be?
Yeah, I think as far as we can. I think we've shown in the last 2 years that we have beaten top ranked teams. So I think as high as we can push, hopefully to not have to go to those qualifying events in the future. So something like that would definitely be a target of ours, and just to keep improving and the young girls coming through, it's hugely exciting. I think that's what kind of keeps you going. You're seeing like half of our bowling attack are under 19 and going to the likes of the under 19 World Cup, which is so exciting for them. But yeah, it's a very exciting future for Irish cricket.
Well, Gabby, congratulations on those wins against England, and yeah, keep that upward trajectory. Thanks so much for being with us on Stumped.
Thanks so much.
Gabby Lewis, the captain of Ireland's women. Finally on Stumped, it's time to meet the international captain turned ultra-marathon running cricket coach. Now, Johan Botha played 5 Tests, 78 one-day internationals and 40 T20 internationals for South Africa, so he's no stranger to rigorous training. He now competes in endurance races, often fitting them in around a very hectic cricket coaching career. Now, Botha has coached in the Pakistan Super League, the Caribbean Premier League, the International League T20 in the UAE, and Major League Cricket in the States. He's also now the new head coach of the Big Bash League reigning champions Brisbane Heat and Queensland. Now, if that wasn't enough, Botha has an endurance race coming up next month in Perth at the Backyard Ultra Team World Championships. And I'm pleased to say that we can speak to Johan now, in between training sessions, I imagine. Johan, great to have you on. First, on this endurance running, I mean, when did this passion start? And I mean, does it have any links with the sort of training you did as a professional cricketer?
Not so much as a professional cricketer. I think to ride a lot when I played, ride my bike and that. So it was more when I was on tour and I couldn't take my bike or didn't want to take my bike, I would run with the South African support staff. But it wasn't anything very, long. It was sort of 8K to 10Ks, sort of 5 days a week. And then towards the back end of my career, when I only played Big Bash, I thought I need to do something that, challenges me through sort of February to October. And it needs to be a little bit hard. So that's when the running picked up. So, I'm sort of over 7 years of consistently running now.
Wow, I mean, a little bit hard. You've sort of taken it to the extreme with these ultra marathons. I read once, in terms of fitting in the training, I read that you did a 3-hour run in the middle of the night in Dubai when you were at the ILT20. I mean, is that just a case of fitting in what you can when you can?
Yeah, a little bit of that. And also because of these backyard ultras, you want to run for as long as you can. And, between sort of 1 a.m. and 5 a.m. is the most difficult part. So I thought, we played a game in Abu Dhabi. We had an hour and a half on the bus. So we got back to the hotel just after midnight. And I thought this would be great training. We had the next day off. So that's where the idea came. I sat on the bus and I thought, well, you don't really want to do it, but this is the time to do it. When it is a bit hard, you've not slept since that morning. And I think I went out and did about 32K run. So it was really good, just for that mental prep more than the physical, to train when you sort of don't really want to and you're a bit under fatigue, and the game didn't go our way.
Jim Maxwell for the ABC in Sydney, Johan, and it looks like you might have a bit of a fitness regime going there with the BBL champs and state cricket for Queensland and the Sheffield Shield in the next 3 years. What does all this mean to you, taking on this role?
It is a big role, obviously. There's only 6 state teams, so to have a head coach role as one of 6 is obviously a big privilege. And then in the BBL, that's probably a little bit different. It's a different kind of pressure there because Brisbane Heat are the reigning champions. So that's slightly different pressure. Everyone's going to expect us just to rock up again and do it all over again. But as we know in professional sport, it's not that easy. Where with the Bulls, we've had 2 or 3 average seasons. So we're starting to rebuild that, and hopefully we can start the season well next week in Melbourne, and then the first Shield game over in Perth early October. So 2 teams at different stages. So yeah, it's an interesting challenge. Each will bring its own challenges, but I'm looking forward to it. And like I said, it's obviously a big honour to coach a professional team in Australia with such limited amount of teams.
And just on the influences that have brought you to where you are, and perhaps a bit on Marnus Labuschagne and what he can inspire, because we don't have a lot of Queenslanders in this Australian setup, particularly the Test side these days. Who's going to burst through? Is Bartlett one to keep an eye on?
I think Bartlett's definitely one. Unfortunately, he picked up a side strain in the one of the matches in England. So, that's a bit of an unfortunate start to the season. But you're right, he's going to be a big player for us and for the Brisbane Heat, and I'm sure for Australia. When this lot of fast bowlers stop or retire or get dropped eventually, he's hopefully going to be that next guy that's sort of ready to go. I think Marnus is pretty settled now in that team. Obviously a top quality player. I think from our younger guys, I think Jack Clayton's one that, if he can get it off to a nice start in this summer, he might not play Test cricket yet, but I think, there's definitely something there in the future. He was the highest run scorer for us last year in Shield cricket. And he's had a nice sort of start in the preseason game. So, he's a quality player. But there's a few. It's hard to say. There's so many good players in Australia. So it's hard to single out, one or two from us. And I'm sure every coach will do that. And, there's only 11 spots in the national team. So, but, that's work in progress for us. We want to, create Australian players and consistent Australian players. I think that's one thing for Queensland in the past. There's been quite a few test caps along the way, but there's not many guys who've played, for a prolonged period in international cricket. So that's certainly something we want to do is, once they get their shot, to not just be a one or a two gamer. We want guys to sort of go up and play consistently then for Australia.
Can I take you just back to your Queensland role? Because we were talking earlier on the show about, it was a long time away, but the questions are already being asked about the Ashes and who might partner Steve Smith at the top of the order. Obviously, there was a Queenslander in Matt Renshaw who has done that job in the past. He's been over here playing for Somerset in the UK. What do you feel his sort of position is at the moment, and whether that's something he, would still aspire to do?
Oh, definitely aspires to do that. I think, all of us in our coaching staff and our, in our team, we want that to happen. That's one of our main goals is to try and get Matt back in that Australian Test team. And he's been training really well. He came back from Somerset. He had a bit of a wrist niggle. And it's I wouldn't say it's set him back, but it certainly stopped him from batting sort of June, July, and he's sort of come out the back end of it now, and he's ready to go. He's played nicely for us in the preseason games. He's getting a little bit older now, so he's becoming almost a leader within our group, which is great. We want those guys to share their knowledge, share their experiences, and if Steve Smith does move to number 4, and he has a really good start to the summer, there's nothing stopping him from getting that call. But I think I sort of touched on it earlier. We want him to really be ready and take that chance with both hands and not let it go again. Get into that team, whoever gets it, lock it down for quite a number of years and create a successful career. And he's certainly got time on his side. He can at least play for another 5-6 years, maybe even more at Test level. So, if he can, like I said, get a good start to this summer, and he will be opening with Usman for us in the Shield, the start of the Shield games. So that's already a partnership. So if they can, get us as a team, first of all, off to some good starts, hopefully that, the Aussie selectors will keep an eye on that and, maybe give him the nod.
Johan, it's great to have you on and get your insight on all those things we've just talked about. And good luck for the Perth Ultra Marathon and representing Australia.
Thank you very much.
Good luck for the upcoming season, of course, as well in the cricket. Johan Botha, now the Queensland and Big Bash Brisbane Heat coach, but Ultra Marathon star as well. And that's all we've got time for on this week's Stump. So I'll say thanks to Jim Maxwell and Charu Sharma, and of course to all of you, and we'll see you again next week. Until then, bye-bye.